7.1 Part 1.
When TV producer John Lloyd thought of a formula for a new quiz show, he decided to call it QI, which stands for Quite Interesting, and which is also IQ backwards. It's a comedy quiz where panelists have to answer unusual general knowledge questions, and it is perhaps surprising that it's particularly popular among 15 to 25-year-olds. Along with co-author John Mitchinson, Lloyd has since written a number of QI books, and these have also been incredibly successful. Lloyd's basic principle is very simple. Everything you think you know is probably wrong, and everything is interesting. The QI book of General Ignorance, for example, poses 240 questions, all of which reveal surprising answers. So, we learn, for example, that you are more likely to be killed by an asteroid than by lightning, or that Julius Caesar was not in fact born by caesarean section. The popularity of these books proves Lloyd's other thesis, that human beings, and children in particular, are naturally curious and have a desire to learn. And this, he believes, has several implications for education. According to Lloyd and Mitchinson, there are two reasons why children, in spite of being curious, tend to do badly at school. Firstly, even the best schools can take a fascinating subject, such as electricity or classical civilization, and make it boring, by turning it into facts which have to be learnt by heart and then regurgitated for exams. Secondly, QI's popularity seems to prove that learning takes place most effectively when it's done voluntarily. The same teenagers who will happily choose to read a QI book will often sit at the back of a geography class and go to sleep, or worse still, disrupt the rest of the class.
7.2 Part 2.
So how could we change our schools so that children would enjoy learning? What would a QI school be like? These are Lloyd and Mitchinson's basic suggestions. The first principle is that education should be more play than work. The more learning involves things like storytelling and making things, the more interested children will become. Secondly, they believe that the best people to control what children learn are the children themselves. Children should be encouraged to follow their curiosity. They will end up learning to read, for example, because they want to, in order to read about something they are interested in. Thirdly, they argue that children should also be in control of when and how they learn. The QI school would not be compulsory, so pupils wouldn't have to go if they didn't want to, and there would be no exams. There would only be projects or goals that children set themselves, with the teacher helping them. So a project could be something like making a film or building a chair. Fourthly, there should never be theory without practice. You can't learn about vegetables and what kind of plants they are from books and pictures. You need to go and plant them and watch them grow. The fifth and last point Lloyd and Mitchinson make is that there's no reason why school has to stop dead at 17 or 18. The QI school would be a place where you would be able to carry on learning all your life, a mini university where the young and old could continue to find out about all the things they are naturally curious about.
7.3 1.
Lloyd and Mitchinson think that school shouldn't be compulsory.
What a ridiculous idea. If it wasn't compulsory, no one would ever go.
2.
Did you know that at the time of the French Revolution, only half the population spoke French?
How interesting. So what language did the other half speak?
7.4 Prefixes 1. Negative prefixes.
Immobile, immoral, impersonal, impractical.
Illegitimate, illiterate, illogical,
Irrational. Irregular. Irrelevant. Irreplaceable.
inappropriate, incapable, incoherent, incompetent, inhospitable.
Unattractive, undue, unhelpful, unofficial.
disagree, discontinue, disembark, dishonest.
7.5. 2. Prefixes which add other meanings. 1. D.
Out means more than, better than, bigger than, etc.
2. I.
Mono means one.
3. U.
Re means again.
4. L.
Out means outside, not inside.
5. Q.
Ill means badly.
6. C.
Multi means more than one, many.
7. E.
Miss means wrongly.
8. H.
Anti means against.
9. O.
Up means higher, towards the top.
10. N.
D means remove or reduce.
11. K.
Post means after.
12. M.
Pre means before.
13. B.
Over means too much.
14. G.
By means two, twice.
15. P.
Co means together.
16. F.
Sub means below.
17. R.
Inter means between.
18. A.
Under means not enough.
19. S.
Super means above average.
20. J.
Auto means by yourself, by itself.
21. T.
Micro means extremely small.
7.6. Part 1.
Trafalgar Square in London has a plinth, that is, a stone base for a statue, in each of its four corners. On 3 of them, there are statues of famous historical figures. The 4th plinth was originally intended to hold a statue of King William IV on a horse, but, due to insufficient funds, the statue was never built. The use of the 4th plinth was debated for over 150 years, and finally, in 1998, the Royal Society for the Encouragement of Arts commissioned 3 contemporary sculptures to be displayed there temporarily. Shortly afterwards, the authorities decided to seek opinions from public art commissioners, critics, and members of the public as to the future of the plinth. Although various proposals were put forward for permanent statues, such as of Nelson Mandela or Margaret Thatcher, it was finally agreed that, rather than having anything permanent, works of art would be commissioned from leading national and international artists and be displayed there on a temporary basis. In 2005, the first work was unveiled, a sculpture of a pregnant woman by Mark Quinn, and since then there has been a succession of new works. It is considered the world's most famous public art commission. However, it is thought that the reason for not accepting any permanent statue there may be because the fourth plinth is being reserved for a statue of Queen Elizabeth II.
Seven point seven. Part 2.
This sculpture, called Nelson's Ship in a Bottle, was unveiled in May 2010 and was the first artwork on the fourth plinth to relate directly to Admiral Horatio Nelson, who stands at the top of the column in Trafalgar Square. It was created by the British artist Yinka Shonibare. The ship inside is a model of Nelson's ship HMS Victory. The bottle was made out of glass and was constructed by aquarium specialists in Rome, along with the giant cork. Unlike Nelson's ship, however, this ship's sails were made of different African cloths. Shonibare said of his sculpture that it was designed to specifically reflect on the relationship between the birth of the British Empire and Britain's present-day multicultural context. The sculpture, the fourth work of art to be displayed there, was on show until January 2012, and in 2015 it was voted by the public to be the best of all the sculptures that had been displayed up to that point. When the sculpture was removed, money was raised to buy it from the artist, and it was the first of the fourth plinth commissions to be relocated in London. It is now on permanent display in the National Maritime Museum. This statue of a boy on a rocking horse is called Powerless Sculptures, figure 101. It was created by two Scandinavian artists, Michael Elmgreen from Denmark and Ingar Dragseth from Norway. It was the fifth work to occupy the fourth plinth and was on display from February 2012 to April 2013. The statue, which is 4.1 metres high, was made entirely of bronze. The two artists based their concept around the idea of the many memorial statues of men on horseback which celebrate victory in war. This boy on horseback is vulnerable. Unlike traditional heroes, he is not competitive or aggressive. Rather, he represents the heroism of a child growing up. Talking about their work, the artists said, "We thought maybe we should celebrate some generations to come and hope that there will be a future where there are not so many war monuments." Installed in March 2018 and displayed until March 2020, the ninth work of public art was by Iraqi-American artist Michael Rakovitz. In 2006, Rakovitz started a project to recreate more than 7,000 objects of Iraqi art, which had been lost forever, either looted from the Iraq Museum in 2003 or destroyed at archaeological sites during the Iraq War. For the Fourth Plinth Commission, Rakovitz created a sculpture that was part of this ongoing project, called The Invisible Enemy Should Not Exist. It was a life-size recreation of the Lamassu, the winged god that stood at the entrance to Nergal Gate in Nineveh, in present-day Iraq, from 700 BC until it was destroyed in 2015. This Lamassu was made out of 10,500 empty Iraqi date syrup cans, which symbolize not only how so much art was destroyed during the war, but also how Iraq's date industry, the country's second biggest export after oil, was decimated by the destruction of millions of its date palm trees. While his sculpture was on display, Rakovits also set up a pop-up kiosk across the square, which sold small books of recipes using date syrup, as well as small cakes and biscuits.
7.8. 1,
It really looks like the original statue.
2,
You can only see what it's made of when you look at it really closely.
3,
From a distance, it looks as if it's made of gold and precious metals.
4,
The artist seems to be trying not to replicate the lost statue, but to make something which looks similar, but is more connected with modern life.
7.9. 1,
Computer. Sculpture. Picture. Architecture. Capture. Creature. Culture. Feature. Furniture. Future. Leisure. Measure. Nature. Pleasure. Signature. Structure. Temperature. Texture. Treasure.
2,
Tourist. Allure. Endure. Immature. Impure. Obscure. Secure. Sure.
7.10.
First of all, the programme needed to know where John got the painting from in the first place.
So, John, how did you get the painting?
I was given the painting by Dennis Worth Miller, who was at the East Anglian School of Painting and Drawing with Lucian Freud, and I was given it when I was staying the weekend at Dennis Worth Miller's house in Wivenhoe in Essex.
So it was a present?
It was a present, yep.
The programme then decided to look into how Dennis Worth Miller had got hold of the painting, especially since he and Lucian Freud were not friends.
So, John, do you think that Freud gave the painting to Dennis?
There was never a case that Freud had given it to Dennis. The case was that Dennis had taken it from the barn.
The story was that during the Second World War, when Dennis and Freud were students, it was very difficult to get hold of canvases to paint on, so students often just left their used canvases in a barn at the school, and then the canvases were reused. Dennis told John that he had just picked up the canvas, Freud's painting, to reuse, but then he didn't. He just kept it. The next question the programme focused on was who the portrait was of, in case this might give some more clues about the identity of the painter. After some research into the archives, a note in Dennis's handwriting was found which identified the man in the portrait, the man in the black cravat, as a certain John Jameson. The programme found letters written by John Jameson which made it clear that he knew Lucian Freud quite well and had met him on a number of occasions, including at the painting school in 1939. So it was perfectly credible that Freud had painted Jameson exactly at the time that Dennis had said. The programme then decided to focus on the canvas itself and took it to an expert in the scientific analysis of paintings called Libby Sheldon. Sheldon put the painting under the microscope and made a fascinating discovery. There was a long hair embedded in the picture which looked like a human hair and which might give them some DNA evidence. The hair was removed from the picture and taken to be analysed, and at the same time they were able to get a DNA sample from one of Freud's cousins to compare it with.
John, what did you think when Libby Sheldon found a hair in the painting?
I was absolutely gobsmacked. I hadn't even thought that there'd be a possibility that anything like that could exist.
Did you assume it was Freud's hair?
I didn't. I didn't assume it was Freud's.
And when the results came back, unfortunately, it was not a match. The hair was definitely not Lucian Freud's. How did you feel, John, at that moment?
I was very disappointed when I found that it wasn't a hair from Lucian Freud's head, because I got swept along with adrenaline and excitement that goes with one of these TV shows, because of course you're not only dealing with the presenters, you have the producers and the researchers and the film crew. We got to know each other so well at this stage, and none of us knew. So we were all biting our nails at this moment, and when that was delivered, none of us knew the result. And so we've been sitting in the laboratory for 3 hours before that was delivered, and I was really biting my fingernails right down.
The real mystery, of course, remained. If it really was a Freud painting, why had he denied it? Was it because it was an early work and he was ashamed of it and didn't want to be associated with it? Fake or Fortunes experts contacted Freud's solicitor, Diana Rawstron, who had known him very well. They had often talked about his paintings, and when she checked back through her records, she found that in 2006 they had discussed The Man in the Black Cravat, and Freud admitted that in fact he had started the painting. He had painted the body, the shirt, the neck and part of the face, but that someone else had completed it. This was very exciting. The programme now had first-hand evidence that the painting was partly by Freud. So they went back to Libby Sheldon, the expert in the scientific analysis of paintings, and asked her to see whether she thought it was possible that the painting had been made by two different people. After examining all the paint pigments and the brushstrokes, she had no hesitation in saying that she was absolutely certain that the painting was done by a single artist. So she thought that as Freud admitted to having started it, then he must have finished it too.
John, what did you think when you heard the news that Freud had admitted to starting the painting?
I could have fallen over backwards. It was one of those moments when I did the action you're told not to do. I looked off camera straight at the producer who had become actually a friend, and I was very close to at that stage. Just looked at her in just utter disbelief that this had happened.
Finally, after collecting together all the evidence they had uncovered, the programme asked 3 experts on Freud to give their verdict. The letter with their decision was opened live on camera at the end of the programme. And this is what they said.
7.11.
Finally, after collecting together all the evidence they had uncovered, the programme asked 3 experts on Freud to give their verdict. The letter with their decision was opened live on camera at the end of the programme. And this is what they said.
We believe this to be a work that Lucian Freud did at art school, most probably in 1939.
John, you must have been over the moon. Why do you think Freud denied that he had done the painting?
I'm absolutely certain that the reason he denied having done the painting to other people was because of the war that was going on between him and Dennis Worth Miller. They fell out when they were aged, when he was 17 and Dennis Worth Miller was 21 or so. And there were times when they were together and it was okay. Dennis was certainly a very, very difficult character.
And regardless of the fact that it's by Freud, do you love the painting?
Whether I love the painting or not is a very interesting question, because a lot of people, particularly on social media, when it was seen on the television, were saying, but it's hideous, it's absolutely terrible. I love it. I've always loved it. And particularly because it just clicked straight away with me that it was so like Freud's early drawings. I love the shadows. I love the way, the exaggerated face. Everything about it just appeals to me greatly.
Would your feelings have changed if it had turned out not to be by Freud or to be a fake?
My feelings for the painting certainly wouldn't have changed if I found it wasn't a Freud, because it mustn't be forgotten that I have been at that stage for many occasions. I've been to meet people, very important people, who've told me it is the most wonderful early Freud they've ever seen, and then snapped at me saying it's a fake 3 weeks later with no explanation as to why we've gone from hot to cold. And so my emotions have gone really high, thinking, wow, I now know this is a Freud, to absolutely crashing down to saying it isn't. And I know from that my emotion towards the painting has never changed.
Would you ever sell it?
What I'd always said that I was going to do with the canvas was put it into my estate and set up a trust to pay for people to go to the Royal College of Art. I was in a situation where there was no money for me to do further education, and I got a state bursary, like a scholarship, to go to the Royal College of Art, and that saw me through my time there. So it would seem appropriate that it should go towards helping someone who otherwise wouldn't be able to get there to do further education.
John, thank you very much.
7.12. 1.
John, what did you think when Libby Sheldon found a hair in the painting?
I was absolutely gobsmacked. I hadn't even thought that there'd be a possibility that anything like that could exist.
2.
I was very disappointed when I found that it wasn't a hair from Lucian Freud's head, because I got swept along with adrenaline and excitement that goes with one of these TV shows.
3.
So we were all biting our nails at this moment, and when that was delivered, none of us knew the result.
4.
John, what did you think when you heard the news that Freud had admitted to starting the painting?
I could have fallen over backwards.
5.
I've always loved it, and particularly because it just clicked straight away with me that it was so like Freud's early drawings.
8.1. 1. Tony.
Well, I've had back pain for a while now, and I went to see a chiropractor who did sort me out partially, but, well, she also does acupuncture, and she said one day would I like to try it, and, well, actually, to my surprise, it seemed to do some good, and for a few days it felt better. Now, I don't know whether it was a real effect or a placebo, but yeah, it did some good. I've had it 3 times now. I don't know if I'd call it proper therapy, but yeah, I think it worked. And the funny thing is, it's amazing she got me to go back because I've got a complete phobia of needles.
2. Katie.
So, I went to a Chinese medicine practitioner that was recommended to me because I had some skin problems, and I went along and it was very nice, sort of a very calm office. He seemed really professional anyway. He prescribed me some herbal medicine. It was some tea, a Chinese tea made of bark and leaves and so on. I had to boil it up 3 times a day and then drink the liquid. And the liquid just smelt revolting. It was really bad, made the whole house smell, and it tasted even worse. It was really expensive as well, the consultations and the dead leaves, but I stuck to it for a few weeks. And I have to say, although I was very sceptical about it, I really do think it made a difference. Didn't solve the problem completely, but it did actually improve the quality of my skin. So, yeah, maybe I would try it again if I needed to.
3. Jen.
I don't use alternative medicine because I think it's a waste of time and it doesn't work. If alternative medicine worked, it wouldn't be alternative, it would be actual conventional medicine. The reason that it is alternative is because we don't have any solid proof that it works. You only ever hear anecdotal evidence that it's worked for individual people. That's not real evidence, and I would say to anyone who's heard stories like that, look up the placebo effect. There's no evidence that alternative medicine works beyond the placebo effect. And so, as far as I'm concerned, it's a waste of time and money. And at its worst, it could even be dangerous or harmful if people are using it in place of real medicine that might cure their very real illness.
4. Chris.
My neighbour who lives in the flat above me is a homeopathic doctor and also a hypnotherapist. And at one point, because I'd been trying to give up smoking for a long time, I decided to try hypnotherapy to see whether it would have any effect. I was pretty sceptical about the whole idea of hypnotherapy, but I very much like and respect my neighbour, so I thought, why not give it a go? Anyway, I went to her clinic and sat in a chair, and there weren't any golden pendulums or anything like that, but she did tell me to close my eyes, and I suppose she asked me several questions or talked to me, but I didn't go into a trance. I was conscious all the time. And the one thing I remember is that she told me to imagine that I was in a forest, walking in a beautiful forest with lots of trees and green trees, and then to imagine that the forest was slowly dying and that all the trees were dead wood, and that this was the effect that smoking was having on me, and that if I stopped, it would go back into the green, beautiful forest that I'd imagined in the first place. Sadly, it had no effect on me whatsoever. Maybe if I'd believed in it, she said that anyway, I wasn't yet ready to stop smoking, so maybe that is the answer, and hopefully one day I will stop smoking.
5. Mary.
So I've used aromatherapy, which I have with a massage whenever I can, because I've got loads of back problems and shoulder problems. Anyway, with an aromatherapy massage, like they use specific oils from plants which either relax you or they invigorate you, and I always go for the relaxing one because I think that's the whole point of a massage. And so they massage these plant oils and you breathe them in and then they soak into your skin, and I am pretty sure, I'm certain that the oils make a difference to the effectiveness of this treatment, or it does for me. I don't know if that's a placebo or it's real, but it's a question worth thinking about. I don't think anybody really knows. Maybe there are some trials. I do know that recently there was a study by some university or other on the use of lavender oil for children, and they found that lavender oil really does have a big effect on them, helping them sleep better and on their behaviour. It improves behaviour in overactive children, apparently. So, based on that evidence, I'd say it's a real therapy. It's just one that doctors don't prescribe yet. Normally, anyway.
8.2. 1.
Although I was very sceptical about it, I really do think it made a difference.
2.
You only ever hear anecdotal evidence that it's worked for individual people.
3.
So I thought, why not give it a go?
4.
Sadly, it had no effect on me whatsoever.
8.3. Plus 2 plus infinitive.
Afford. Agree. Happen. Manage. Pretend. Refuse. Tend. Threaten.
Plus gerund.
Avoid. Be worth. Can't help. Can't stand. Deny. Imagine. Involve. Look forward to. Miss. Practice. Regret. Risk. Suggest.
Plus infinitive without to.
Had better. Needn't. Would rather.
8.4.
So, tell us what you think about it. We'd love to hear from you. Now, you may have heard in the news that the government has been consulting on ways to reduce dependence on prescription drugs, especially those which people take long-term, such as painkillers and antidepressants. Today we have Mark in the studio, and Mark's a research scientist. Welcome. And you're going to tell us about something called social prescribing.
Hi Liz, thanks for inviting me on the show. Yes, so my area is public health research, and I've been working with the Department of Health on this issue. Of course, often patients do need to be prescribed drugs, but the concern is that too many people are getting them almost automatically, when in fact there may be other ways to deal with their health problems.
Right.
My research has shown that patients who take up social activities or hobbies are far less likely to need some types of prescription medicine. And obviously that's something we want to encourage. So this is what we are calling social prescribing. The idea that doctors will suggest to patients that instead of taking medicine, they take up a specific hobby or leisure activity that will improve their particular health issue.
I see. So what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, different hobbies offer different health benefits. Let's take dancing. Dancing of any kind is good for both your fitness and your mood. But a German study published last year showed that dancing regularly can also slow down brain aging. In this study, volunteers took part in a dance class once a week for 18 months. At the end of the 18 months, the participants showed an increase in the area of the brain that plays an important role in memory and learning.
Wow.
So that's clearly something for people to consider as they get older. Another example, cycling. As we get older, the thymus, this is the organ which makes the so-called T cells that we need to help us resist disease, starts to get smaller, to shrink. But it's now been shown that cycling can actually boost your immune system. Recent research has found that the thymus in older cyclists produces as many T cells as in young people.
Fascinating. So dancing and cycling are both things that a doctor might consider prescribing for patients to increase their long-term health. Although both of those activities are fairly energetic, and not all patients would be able to do them.
Sure. So there's also yoga. It's well known that yoga can improve body flexibility and make you feel calm, but doing yoga regularly can also significantly reduce your blood pressure. It's the stretching and deep breathing that makes a significant difference. Doing yoga for 15 minutes a day can reduce blood pressure by as much as 10%. Then there's golf, already a really popular sport. And there's now evidence that playing golf can actually help to offset the risk of getting diabetes and some types of cancer. In fact, golf can reduce your chances of developing up to 40 chronic diseases. Research shows that golfers live longer and feel better than the general population.
Well, that sounds very positive. But what about people like me who aren't so keen on sporting activities? What could doctors prescribe for them?
Absolutely. Well, in terms of getting outdoors, how do you feel about gardening?
Well, maybe.
Researchers have repeatedly shown that doing things in the garden will lower levels of stress and anxiety. Looking after your plants for just half an hour a week can almost instantly reduce feelings of tension and fatigue and make you less likely to suffer from depression. And another really effective thing is owning a pet. You get great exercise from walking a dog, but also, and rather surprisingly, living with a pet really helps reduce the likelihood of allergies. One study showed that stroking a dog for 18 minutes a day makes a difference to how the body reacts to animals. Children who live with a pet are less prone to developing allergies such as asthma because they are exposed to fur and animal saliva from a young age.
And is there anything for the more creative types?
Yes. One of the most intriguing findings is about knitting, which you might think is a rather old-fashioned hobby, but actually it's now enjoying a bit of a comeback. A study at Harvard Medical School found that knitting lowers the heart rate by an average of 11 beats a minute. and another trial involving women with eating disorders who were taught to knit showed that 74% of them said knitting helped them feel better about themselves. And I should just point out that it's not only about being a bit more active. Most of the hobbies I've mentioned are things you can do with other people, which in itself has a beneficial effect on your health.
Well, Mark, I'm totally convinced. So next time I go to the doctor, I'm hoping I'll get a prescription for a course of dance classes and some knitting needles.
Exactly. Let's hope so.
8.5. 1.
The government has been consulting on ways to reduce dependence on prescription drugs.
2.
Patients who take up social activities or hobbies are far less likely to need some types of prescription medicine.
3.
The participants showed an increase in the area of the brain that plays an important role in memory and learning.
4.
Doing yoga for 15 minutes a day can reduce blood pressure by as much as 10%.
5.
Playing golf can actually help to offset the risk of getting diabetes.
6.
Looking after your plants for just half an hour a week can almost instantly reduce feelings of tension and fatigue and make you less likely to suffer from depression.
7.
Children who live with a pet are less prone to developing allergies such as asthma.
8.
Most of the hobbies I've mentioned are things you can do with other people, which in itself has a beneficial effect on your health.
8.6.
He refuses to go to the doctor about his bad back. He's as stubborn as a mule.
8.7. A.
He's lost a lot of weight since September.
B.
It's about time he saw an optician.
C.
She never complains about taking her medicine.
D.
He's never had a problem with insomnia.
E.
My grandmother's 94 and never catches a cold.
8.8. Travel and tourism. 1. Describing places. 1.
The view is absolutely breathtaking.
2.
It's a really lively area at night.
3.
We found a tiny cafe in the back streets of Venice, right off the beaten track.
4.
We went to a very picturesque little fishing village yesterday.
5.
It's a lovely city, almost completely unspoilt by tourism.
6.
The site of the temple is extremely remote. You can only get there on foot, and it takes 4 hours.
7.
The enormous statue at the entrance to the palace is very imposing.
8.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa is one of Italy's most iconic sites.
9.
I think that restaurant's overrated.
10.
The museum's pretty dull, but the cafe's good.
11.
The shops are quite touristy, but we bought some nice things.
12.
The seafront has been spoilt by all the new hotels.
13.
The hotel pool is always overcrowded.
14.
The souvenirs were all plastic Eiffel Towers and key rings, really tacky stuff.
15.
The main square is quite smart, but the buildings behind are very run down.
16.
The old town has a lot of character, but the modern part of the city is mainly soulless office blocks.
17.
The hotel breakfast was a bit pricey, but it was worth it.
18.
The hotel entrance is unimposing, but the lobby inside is spectacular.
8.9. 2. Verb phrases. 1,
Set off on a journey.
2,
Extend a trip.
3,
Go camping.
4,
Go on holiday.
5,
Postpone a trip.
6,
Wander round the old town.
7,
Chill out after a tiring day.
8,
Soak up the atmosphere.
9,
Sample the local cuisine.
10,
Hit the shops.
11,
Get away from it all.
12,
Recharge your batteries.
8.10.
So I was living in Spain at the time, and I was travelling back from Spain to the UK with my wife and 2 young children. It was 2 days before Christmas, and we were travelling back to London to visit my family there. It was an evening flight from Valencia to London Gatwick. Come on, kids! Are you nearly ready? We're leaving for the airport in 15 minutes.
Coming, Daddy!
What time do we need to check in?
Well, the flight leaves at 10:15. Don't worry, we've got plenty of time.
Departure of flight Iberia 6845. Please, passengers proceed to gate number A6.
The weather in Spain was really good, but just before we were going to take off, I was just reading my messages at the last minute, and I saw there was a message from my brother, Russ. Oh, look, there's a message from Russ. Oh, he's asking whether the flight's been cancelled. Apparently there's a really bad storm in London with gale force winds.
Oh, really? That doesn't sound good.
I know. Anyway, we're about to take off. I'll let him know we're already on the plane. So we took off, but obviously we were a bit worried about what the weather was going to be like when we got there. It was a 2-hour flight, and everything was fine until we were approaching Gatwick, when the pilot made an announcement.
.11.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your pilot speaking. We're about 20 minutes from Gatwick, but unfortunately, we can't land yet because we've been told that there's really windy weather there. So we're going to circle for a while and assess the situation. Please make sure that your seatbelts are fastened, as it may be a bit bumpy.
So the plane started circling. And then we started getting the worst turbulence I've ever experienced. The plane just seemed to be going up in the air, then dropping down, then rising up again, then dropping.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're going to attempt a landing now.
We could see now that the wind was incredibly strong. We could see the wings of the plane moving up and down out of the window. I'm sure everyone on the plane was thinking the same thing. He's never going to be able to land the plane. We're going to crash.
All cabin crew should now be seated with their seatbelts securely fastened. The cabin lights will remain dim for landing.
Then just at the very last moment, the pilot obviously realised that it was impossible to land, and he changed his mind, and the plane suddenly rose back up into the air. It was an absolutely terrifying moment. The plane just kept climbing and climbing, going further and further away from the airport. Then the pilot made another announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, I'm very sorry, but it was too dangerous to land. It was too windy, and I'm afraid we can't land at Gatwick now because the airport's been closed. In fact, I have to tell you that we can't land anywhere in the UK because all of the airports are closed.
8.12.
So, where are we going to land if the airports are closed?
I've no idea. Maybe Paris.
Paris? What if we don't have enough fuel to get there?
Then the pilot made another announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to land at Amsterdam because the weather conditions there are a little better. So we're heading towards the Netherlands now. We're due to land at Schiphol in approximately 1 hour.
After that, we had about an hour's journey to Holland. That was okay, fairly normal. And then as we got closer to Amsterdam, the pilot came back on again.
Good evening, everyone. We'll be landing shortly at Schiphol Airport. It's going to be a bit windy here too, but not as bad as at Gatwick. You'll be happy to hear.
And it was quite a good landing. A little bit bumpy, but everyone was very, very relieved to get down on the ground. And we all started getting up. To be honest, we couldn't wait to get off, to get our feet back on firm ground again. And we got up and we started to take our things from the overhead locker. But then there was another announcement.
Your attention, everyone. We aren't going to disembark here in Amsterdam. We're going to refuel and then we'll be flying back to the UK because we've been told that in a couple of hours the weather may be a bit better at Gatwick. However, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get off, you can get off, but unfortunately there won't be a hotel for you to stay at tonight because this plane's travelling back to Gatwick.
8.13.
So basically, then everyone had a dilemma. To stay on the plane or to get off and spend the rest of the night in Amsterdam. What do you want to do?
Oh.
Get off here or try getting back to London tonight? To be honest, I think we should get off.
Yes, absolutely. Let's get off now. I don't want to be on this plane a minute longer. Come on, kids. Get your things.
More or less everyone with children got off the plane. But a lot of the passengers stayed on board. I suppose for some people, the idea of being stuck in Amsterdam on Christmas Eve was even worse than flying back to Gatwick and trying to land again. But personally, we were really happy to get off that plane. And we spent the night in Amsterdam airport. Then in the morning, we got a train from Amsterdam to Belgium. In Brussels, we picked up the Eurostar, and that took us through France, under the Channel, and safely back to London. So after travelling all day, we finally got to my parents' house at around 7 o'clock in the evening on Christmas Eve, just in time for the children to hang up their stockings. That flight was definitely the most frightening experience I've ever had.
8.14. 1.
Are you nearly ready? We're leaving for the airport in 15 minutes.
2.
The flight leaves at 10:15. Don't worry, we've got plenty of time.
3.
Anyway, we're about to take off.
4.
We're going to try to land at Amsterdam.
5.
We're due to land at Schiphol in approximately 1 hour.
6.
Good evening, everyone. We'll be landing shortly at Schiphol Airport.
8.15. 1. A.
We've got a 3-hour wait before the flight leaves.
B.
What's the maximum weight for hand luggage on this flight?
2. A.
Flight EZ472 is now ready to board. Will passengers please proceed to gate 10?
B.
We're bored. We don't want to visit any more museums.
3. A.
Where's the piece of paper with the address of the hotel?
B.
We're going off the beaten track for a bit of peace and quiet.
4. A.
There was terrible traffic on the way to the airport and we only just caught the flight.
B.
It's a 4-star hotel and it's even got a tennis court.
5. A.
The airport bus had to brake suddenly when a lorry pulled out.
B.
We're going to break the journey in Milan.
6. A.
My ticket cost twice as much as yours. It's not fair.
B.
How much is the airfare to Peru?
7. A.
The pilot landed the plane very smoothly, and everyone clapped.
B.
The cabin crew uniform is a dark blue suit with a plain white shirt.
8. A.
When we arrived in the States, it took us ages to get through immigration.
B.
They threw away my perfume at security because it was 200 millilitres.
9. A.
We visited an archaeological site on the banks of the Nile.
B.
My first sight of the pyramids completely took my breath away.
10. A.
The hotel gave us the honeymoon suite. It was the only room available.
B.
I don't like the local white wine. It's too sweet for me.
8.16. 1.
We had to queue for ages to get in, but it was worth the wait.
2.
Don't forget to take your iPad or you'll be bored on the journey.
3.
We couldn't get any peace on the flight because we were sitting next to a crying baby.
4.
I caught a terrible stomach bug while I was on holiday in India.
5.
We're going on a city break to Prague in April.
6.
I think it would be fair if we split the cost.
7.
The hotel food was rather plain, but delicious nevertheless.
8.
Please could you come through here, sir, and open your suitcase?
9.
I've never been to Rome, so I'm looking forward to seeing the sights.
10.
It was a wonderful trip, short but sweet.